Hey y'all, I'm here. I apologize for being late, child, but today was the first day of school, and whew, traffic was no fun from downtown. But I'm here, and I am so excited. I'm gonna get right to it. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just shoot me a little wave, a little emoji or something. Let me know that you guys can hear me okay. And I'm going to jump right to it. Anybody that's new, welcome to S.L.A.Y. Stop, Love, and Affirm Yourself. We are in week 2 of our first installment of the series for Color Girls Only. And for the month of January, we are talking about experiences. And so last week, we just introduced the series. So if you haven't watched it yet, you got plenty of time to go to Facebook and watch the recap. It is there. It's not going anywhere. You can always check it there. And then last week we talked about domestic violence situations and how those experiences of physical violence in general really affect how we shape our identity and how we understand who we are. And so this month is all about experiences. And so today we're going to talk about experiences of our childhood and how those have shaped us. So I'm collecting some notes, you guys. Like I said, I just walked in and I ran in here so I can get on here and get this message to you guys as quick as possible. So childhood, where do we begin? Let's begin at infancy. So a lot of people don't realize how even just in the form of baby, like in the form of goo-goos and gagas and milk and sleep, we are essentially starting to shape our identity. And it comes directly from that interaction between a mother and a child. In the infancy stage, we don't have any concept of happy or sad or hungry or angry. We know that all we need to do is cry to get any of those emotions out and show them and get those needs met. So then we want to get an identity from that. Like, you always say, oh, this is such a sweet baby, or oh, this baby is so quiet, or oh, this baby laughs all the time, or oh, this baby cries all the time. That's that child shaping the identity, and it comes from the interaction between the mother and the child. So that infancy experience can later on affect who that child becomes. I'll give you an example. A child that was maybe breastfed may have a deeper connection with the mother than a child that was fed by bottle, because anybody can feed that baby. And when I say breastfed, I mean I literally need like from breast to baby, not necessarily breast milk in a bottle. And because of that interaction between mother and child, the child has no other option but to look at the mother. So if that mother is happy and is showing happiness and joy in that moment of feeding, that baby's going to kind of remember those facial expressions and tie in together like, oh, smile must be something good because there's no tears coming and I'm getting milk and everything's all good. It must be good to be happy. So then you start to shape those emotional identities of happiness, happy baby, crying baby, and all these things. Versus, maybe the child that you like, oh my God, why does this child always cry? That child may be getting nurtured from milk, but the interaction between the mom and the child, or the person with the bottle and the child, may be loud. It may be rambunctious. They may be having some negative energy, or it may be angry. It may be, someone forcing a bottle upon a baby versus allowing the baby to find the nipple, allowing the baby to figure out, where the nipple is, and then choosing to suckle on it to get the milk. So these things shape who we are. Do I become an aggressive child, or do I become an overly emotional child and I want to feel the love all the time? I get it. I breastfed my baby. She is the emotional child for sure. She is definitely the child that's like, Mommy, I want to sleep with you, and I just want to lay under you, and I just want to be next to you. But she's loving. That's her identity. She's like that with anyone. She's like that with her godmother. She's like that with her cousins. She's like that with my mom. She's like that with her best friend. She's just like, no, like if you're a part of this, then I want to love on you, and I want to be gentle with you, and I don't want anyone to hurt you. And then we kind of wonder why then we have other children who are very aggressive, or like they'll see somebody and they'll just kick and they won't say hello. And that's just the aggression that they've learned from infancy and their interaction and their experience with their caregivers. So then we kind of move into childhood. And so before we move into childhood, I had read across some definitions that I just thought were flipping amazing. And so I wanted to share them with you. And this is just some research about identity, the word itself. And this definition comes from psychologist William James. And he describes identity as this. Identity is composed of the I, from which we see ourselves, and the me, whereby we learn about ourselves through others. So that is correct. Who we are, who we shape ourselves to be, happens first as a child in our interactions with others. Because we don't have a concept of every single emotion that ever exists. We don't have a concept. We don't have concrete concepts yet. Our concepts are very abstract. So if I go ask a 6-year-old, who are you? What is your identity? They'll be like, I'm a girl, or, I'm a first grader. But as they interact with others and others start to encourage them or others put them down, they start to shape who I am. So then the child grows another year, and you ask the child, who are you? I'm a bad kid. Or my mama always say that I ain't no good. Or just the opposite. When we encourage our children, like, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm the boss. Our children will embody the experiences that they have with their counterparts, as well as with their adults in their life. Whether that's a grandparent, an uncle, a sister, a brother, a mother, or a father. So as we are all adults, just take a moment to think about, like, wow, like, what were some of the things that maybe my mom or my dad or my grandmother or my grandfather or my aunts and uncles said to me, and I embodied that identity for a while. I know for me, my identity as a child was like, you have to be the smart one. So that was a thing for me. It's like, okay, I got to get the good grades. My identity is the smart one. My identity is I have to be educated. My identity is, if without that, I'm nothing. Okay, so now these concepts start to like swirl around in this bowl of life, and you're trying to figure out who you are. Is that who I am? As we get older and we kind of go into our teen years. So then this is the definition that comes from famous psychologist Erik Erikson, and I love his definition as well. And so his definition says this. He proposes from an early age, a child establishes him or herself as a unique and separate individual, and then engages in the lifelong task of finding out what kind of person he or she is going to be relative to other members of his or her community and culture. So now we're in those teen years. So this is when the rebellion starts happening, right? I'm the rebellious teen, or I'm the teen that's going to, follow the lines. And we see these identity pieces start to come into play as it's like, okay, as a child, this was my label because this was my experience as a child with my parents or the people in my family, which is that first line that he talks about, proposed at an early age. You establish yourself as a unique and separate individual that engages, with the family members. So it's like, no, like, this is who I am. I am this person in this unit. No one else. That's the concept as a child. It's like no one else in this unit has that identity but me. This person's identity is mom. This person's identity is dad. My identity is student. So that is who I am. And then you grow and you build and you learn more. And then you get to the point where you're in your teen years, and now it's all these new concepts. oh, there's the jockey, there's the cheerleader, there's the geek, there's, all these different identities. And it's like, whoa, now who am I? So this identity thing, again, is ever changing. It's ever evolving. And so now we're trying to decipher what community we belong to. You start to question, well, mama taught me this, or auntie taught me that, or, I grew up in this culture and my culture says I should be this. But in those high school years and kind of going into those college years, you start to realize, like, wait a minute, like, I ain't none of that. Like, I am me. And so now you move on to college, and those college years is what we'll talk about next week. And that's a whole nother sector. So that's really the point where you really start to get to the peak of finding out who you are. So I just want to take a minute, because I know that was a lot in one area, just to kind of share, what the journey has been like for me in accepting my own identity, and why I think knowing where identity comes from and how it's gotten to the point that it's at this moment is so important. So I personally feel like I lived a lot of my life for my elders. And like in the decisions I made and who I was and how I carried myself, it was because of them. It was because of what they taught me. It was because of the lessons I had. It was because of the expectations. So why I thought I had an identity, because if someone was to ask me, I could tell them, I am black, I am educated, I am successful, I am this, I am that, I am a part of this organization, and I am great, right? In that monotone. But who are you really? And so it's other relationships that you start to form that you start to feel like, well, now I'm kind of straying away from the things that I was taught. I'm starting to see this society differently. I'm starting to see that I can really be another unique entity that's in this world and still function. And that's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times people feel like, well, I can't be myself because in this society, I won't be able to function with this identity, which is not true. God didn't make all of us to be the same. If so, this would be a horrible place to live. Like if we were all cookie cutters of each other, we would all be depressed and sad and in a hospital somewhere. But he intentionally made us to have our own unique identities. And it starts from childhood. And so I would give you this task today. So your task today is going to be, I want you to take a moment and think about what things and what experiences did you have in your childhood that shaped who you were as a teenager. Then what were your experiences in high school that shaped who you were as a young adult? Then if you're past the young adult college phase like myself, how did those college year experiences then shape who you are today? And, it's ever changing. Who I am today, I know will be different when I finish school and I'll have a doctorate degree. Who I am after working in the field 5 years will be somebody else. When I become a mother again, when I become a wife again, we're going to talk about those things and labels in the month of March. That's going to be so serious. But yes, these things all shape who we are. And feel free to, if you have any questions while we're on the live, chime in, any comments. I'm here to answer them for you if something I've said doesn't make sense. But I want to share this concept of identity being kind of like a continuum. Ran across some more amazing information, and it allowed me to really look at who am I right now? And like, girl, you the bomb diggity, and this makes complete sense. So if anybody knows me, y'all know I'm a Beyonce fan. Love her, right? And if you love Beyonce, you know that she will always tell you, like, when I'm on stage, I'm Sasha Fierce. But like when I'm at home, I'm just B, I'm just the wife, I'm just the mom. So identity has levels. And I found this great information that really describes what those levels of identity are, so that you can really recognize why someone may be different on stage than they are at home. Why you always turn up with them friends, but you don't ever turn up with those friends? And people identify that as, oh, you're being fake. No, that's just another level of our identity. And so the first level of the identity is called the ego identity. The ego identity refers to one's essential self as reflective of one's inner resources and abilities. So that's all you. Like, that ego identity is when you wake up in the morning and you look in that mirror and you like, girl, you was the S-H-I-T. Okay? Because it's all internal. It doesn't matter what everybody else looks at you like. In that moment, it doesn't matter, how anyone looks at you. What matters is in that moment, your ego says, girl, use the shit. Okay? You is the bomb diggity. You was the best thing walking this earth, and can't nobody tell you different. That's Sasha Fierce. That's who goes on stage. That's who performs. That's who gets the Grammys. That's who puts on a show. So then, that's just one level of your identity. Because we can't all walk around being Sasha Fierce. It would be, we would all have contracts if that was the case. Because we would be able to perform with no problem and all gets the coin. And I ain't got no Sasha Fierce coin. So then we run into the second level of identity, which is your personal identity. And it is described as this. Your personal identity is the ego embedded in a close circle of others who are a source and verification of one's meaning through culturally acknowledged individual capabilities and needs. Break that down. When you go out with your homegirls and you get to twerk some more, that is your inner ego, okay? Because you knew you woke up that morning, you was twerking all in the mirror when you put on your Fashion Nova jeans, and you was like, girl, you looking good. Now, you can't take her to the office, but you can take that ego that is an inner part of you, embedded in your personal identity when you're around certain groups. So when people ask, like, oh man, like last weekend you was super turned. Well, yeah, last weekend I was with Arvette, I was with Charson, Bishop was in the building, it was a lit weekend. And they're like, okay, but this weekend, you a little reserved and you a little set back. Like, yeah, okay, well this weekend I'm with my boss. So I can't bring out my personal identity when I'm with my boss. So then that that brings up one more level of identity that we all have. And so that's our socio-organistic identity. And this is described as the outermost boundaries of human conceptual and social considerations, providing the linguistic and physical parameters of an individual's worldview. That's Beyonce. That's the one that has to put on the nice dress, has to show up to the awards, and has to present herself as the world should perceive her. The identity that says, I am a strong black woman and I am here. And a lot of times what happens is we may want to be the personal identity, but we have to choose to be, the socio-organistic identity. And that's the person that goes to work. That's the person that has to interact with the world. That's the person that when you on the bus and you really want your inner ego to come out and you want to clap back at somebody, you have to realize, okay, in this culture, in this society, if I clap back in Chicago, somebody might call the police, then they're going to stop the bus, then everybody on the bus is going to complain because they trying to get to work and I'm trying to get to work, but I allowed my ego identity to come out. And so what we want to practice is knowing, okay, this is my ego identity, this is my personal identity, and this is my socio-organistic identity. So let's give them some names. My ego identity has always been my middle name. When I don't want to be found out, I'm Michelle. Like, that's who I am. who is my personal identity. I mean, my homies call me all types of nicknames. Whatever nicknames my homies got for me, that's my personal identity. And then my socio-organistic identity is just Lauren. Like, I am Lauren Michelle Jackson, as it states on my social media or my birth certificate. That's who I am. That's who the world perceives. The world doesn't perceive Michelle that gets with it and be on Twerk City and just yes, yes, yes. Like, the world doesn't see that because the world doesn't want to accept the ego. Because we live in a society where if you have too much ego, that you're going to get torn down. If you have too much ego, you know, you want attention. And that's not necessarily true. That's just that's honestly who I am, because it's embedded in me. And I can only bring it out in certain areas of my life. So, you know, I know it's a lot of information, you guys. I hope that, you know, if you have any questions, shoot it to the DM. Again, today was about childhood experiences. And so my homework task for you today is I want you to take a moment, take out a piece of paper, write down the 5 childhood experiences that you know still affect you today in life. I know there are 5 for me, and I'll share those with you guys so you just kind of get an inkling of the direction I'm going in. So 5 childhood experiences that affected my identity and who I was over time, or shaped who I was losing my godfather and godsister when I was in 3rd grade to murder-suicide. That was a huge experience. Within that same experience of the loss, experiencing not being able to go to the funeral put a lot of hate and anger inside of me, and I was an angry Lauren for a good little minute as a teenager. And that was part of my identity. Like, people would be able to look at me like, oh my God, why you look so mean? Why are you so angry? And it was just a part of who I was, because that was my experience. Another childhood experience that I had that I say like really truly held on to me was having my brother, who is 16 years older than me, like, live with me, and him truly leaning on the fact that I was his little sister. And like going to the mall with him while he picked up girls. It gave me the worst understanding of men. Like, I was just like, I am never gonna let this happen to me. Love my brother to death. Not trying to out him. He's an amazing man. After that, he done got married and did things and had a child and did it right. But being a child and literally experiencing my brother using me in the mall to pick up girls and getting multiple numbers and literally watching him like lie and cheat and do all these things, I immediately, I remember being like 9, 10 years old saying like, I will never be that girl. Like, I will never be the girl that, you know, is one of many. And that shaped who I was. That shaped my identity, because then I actually turned into the girl that was like, well, I'm going to have a whole basketball team. You going to pay the rent. You going to be the date guy. You going to be the guy when I want to go to the movies. You going to be the guy when I want to do the things with the things with the things. And then you going to be the guy when I need to be emotional. So I ended up actually turning into and shaping an identity that was very similar to my brother. And last, I would say another childhood experience that really shaped my identity was being amongst my parents' divorce. And they separated and divorced when I was in 8th grade. And so at that point that that divorce happened, again, I actually became very, I internalized a lot. And so the shaping of my identity that happened with experiencing a divorce was a lot of shame and guilt and blame that, you know, I did something wrong. And so there must be something wrong with me. And so I identified myself with not being good enough for some time. Luckily, over time, I experienced other things and went through a lot of other experience that allowed me to figure out who I am today. So who am I today? I'm the bomb diggity. I'm the best thing out there. And it's a whole bunch of bests up in here. But I'm going to always say that I'm the best, because that's what you should do for yourself. Your identity is about you. Your identity is about how you perceive you are. It is not about everyone else around you. It is not about what society says. And the moment we realize that we are all unique individuals, the moment we realize that who we are is who we are, and to change someone and to force someone to conform to an identity that is not theirs, we will have a lot less issues. We will have a lot less consumer issues of, oh, well, I gotta look like this and I gotta look like that because society says I have to be that. This has to be my identity. Once we realize that it's okay to be our own individual selves and that we can function in this society being different, because we can now utilize each other's differences to build up, we can thrive. So again, take 5 experiences, write them down, and just look at them. You know, evaluate those childhood experiences. And childhood would go from infancy to 18. You know, look at that time in your life and say, wow, these 5 things really shaped my understanding of who I am today and why I do the things I do. I see our vets in here. She's just shared this with everyone. Ego can be dangerous sometimes, but is essential to development. Very true. I mean, just in the breakdown of the 3 levels of identity, that ego identity comes first. You know, and that comes in that childhood. That comes in that, ooh, when she grew up, she gonna be a this. And when he grew up, he gonna be a this. Because you see all that attitude and ego from the beginning. Very true. And that's a very psychodynamic theory. And then micro and macro, interpersonal and existential experiences. Yeah, so experiences come in very different ways. The experience can be micro, very small, very internal, or macro, based on like something happened, like 9/11. You know, that's probably shaped so many that were there in the midst of it, and how they perceive things and how they perceive whether they saved someone, whether they didn't, and you know, really take on that identity of being a savior, or, you know, being a victim, being a survivor, all these different titles that come with it. And then existential experiences, where it truly is just like, wow, I didn't know that driving down the street was going to be an experience, but it was. And through that experience, it shaped me. Very existential, because it's, you know, it doesn't seem of the norm. So I want to thank everybody that tuned in today. We had great follows today. Appreciate you guys. This will be live for recap for the next 24 hours on IG. But if you missed the beginning part, go back, watch it, send us some messages on the DM. If you have any questions, we'll address it. And then you can also recap on Facebook. So if you're not following on Facebook, you can go to S.L.A.Y. Or if you're on Instagram, you can just click the link in the bio. It'll take you directly to our Facebook page. Tune in next Thursday, and we're going to talk about the college year experiences. And I'm going to get a little candid, and I hope you guys can get candid with me. If you have any experiences that you would like us to share anonymously, or if you're okay with us sharing, you know, your name, please feel free to send your college experiences that you feel have shaped your identity to us on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll share it next week. Thank you guys for coming out. Experiences, we're on our way. I can't wait. Next week, we're going to talk about college, the college years, and those experiences through our college life, and how those shape us as we get ready to get close to wrapping up January and moving on to February, which is going to be relationships and how different relationships shape our identity. So thank you, ladies and gents, for tuning in today. I'm so glad we made it. Have a wonderful evening. See y'all next Thursday. Y'all better stop, love, and affirm yourself and keep on slaying.